Hello. I think I'm live now. Hi. In real life, I'm sorry, wanting to be even there. My real life name is Christy Lee. I live in Portland, Oregon. I am a cis-ish female, bisexual, and wanted just to share this is going to be now my Loki-centric channel. Just wanted to cover a few things. You might find yourself, as the talking heads do, saying, well, how did I get here? And you might wonder, why why is Loki talking to me? Is Loki talking to me? And as you'll see, I've put myself in front of my shrine. Um, in case you're curious, I'm mostly into, or he's come to me more as the MCU Tom Hiddleston version, especially since Tom Hiddleston has been such a really respectful carrier of him and the archetype. I do have some of my own art as well, but this is my shrine. So I wanted to do this initial kind of intro of what I'm doing here in front of my shrine to him. My background is as actually an Episcopalian, and I went to a liberal arts school that is Episcopalian. And my genetic lineage actually is not Scandinavian, it is Celtic. And so again, you might be wondering, why are you worshiping a Norse pagan deity, and what right do you have to do that? And I'm just going to say that from my own discernment process, a little bit about me when I was in my early 30s. Oh, I'm Gen X. I was born in 1970. You can do the math. I could be as old as your grandmother, your mother, I don't know, the fun aunt. You might be someone in my age group. You could be whatever, older. But when I was in my early 30s, I thought maybe I'd gotten the call to be an Episcopalian priest. And so at the time, I was at St. George's Church, Nashville, Tennessee. Spent a year working with our priests. There is a process for this. If you work with people already in the field, and I sponsored a woman for adult baptism. And at the end of that year, realized if the call was for me, it wasn't very strong. And so I did not go into the priesthood. But I want to make my head even. Other way. There. So I've been on a very active spiritual path for a while, a few years, several years now, somewhat to do with my own recovery story, which has to do with alcohol use disorder. I use different things in a spiritual purpose, including cannabis and sometimes psilocybin. I'm just letting you guys know that's a thing in my life. Boy, I really want to stop tilting my head. And I'm in Oregon, these things are legal, so yeah. And as part of that process, I've been open to a lot of things, and I was thinking I was working with the Morrigan and a couple of angels or guardians that I've worked with since a couple of rehabs back. Their names are Urukai and Malachi. But then I got a Loki Oracle deck sometime last summer. That's the summer of 2024. And I went to a spiritual retreat in October when I was just getting direct downloads from Loki. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with that, but I brought it up in my retreat and the planet didn't break. Nobody looked at me like I had 5 heads. It's now April of 2025. So I'm still, and I'm even more in a relationship with Loki. I put my former wedding rings on the altar to him intuitively, and then the next week discovered that there's something called God spousing. This is when you have a relationship that is one-on-one and very personal with your deity that is above and beyond, well, it's whatever you call it. It's whatever a spouse relationship means to you. To me, I have been in 2 spouse relationships. I have a partner on the 3D, and he is not included in the spiritual relationship that I have with Loki, but as they don't conflict in any way. There's plenty of me to go around in the 3D metaphysical 32D, and where I am on the 3D, it's all good. They aren't in conflict. They support one another. Having a loving partnership with my partner on the 3D is influencing my spiritual life tremendously on the 32D. I have 32 levels going all the time. That's a different conversation. I just didn't want this to be too long. I just kind of wanted to see if there were other people, if you might find yourself thinking, wow, I didn't really expect to be worshiping Loki or maybe Thor, some other folks from the Asgardian realm, that might not be in your genetic lineage or direct lineage or anything else. And you might be thinking, is this a delusion? Is this just wishful thinking? Or what is actually happening? Now, your mileage may vary. I am not a therapist. I've gone through my own discernment process officially with the Episcopal Church, and I feel like I know when I've been called a second time much more directly and who it was by. It's by Loki. It's a current manifestation of him. It is much less the Norse understanding as I get it, but my sense is that he's kind of thrilled to be coming back in a way that he, probably planned all along, but feels new and exciting to me in that he's getting to have a more nuanced storyline, which includes a big redemption arc. And frankly, in the chaos we're all living with, who doesn't want to be connected to, say, the god of chaos and mischief and kind of ride that and surf that and be really confident while doing that because your reality is your own? That's also more for another time. But I really am going to stop soon. If you're on this path, come join me. I'm part of a Discord community. I'll put that in my footer somewhere. I don't want it. I'm not one of the moderators. I am just a grateful attendee. But for those of you who are on the channel, I'm going to maybe talk about a few things a couple times a week, and we can, I'll integrate this together. Uh, This key. So I wanted to say a little something about rituals and spirituality. I am a very ritual person. I also come from a smells and bells background, which is the Episcopalian or the Anglican tradition, although my family are actually all originally Southern Baptist. All my family are Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, going back further is British Isles and maybe some Scandinavian I don't know about, and Loki's going to show me. Anyway, long story. Wow, TLDR. I got this to give the key to my heart to my partner. Then I realized a few years ago I needed actually to take it back to figure out who I was. So I had it for me, and then I realized I was giving this to Loki, and we were unlocking things together. In the past, when I was channeling him, I would wear this. I actually call it, well, he told me to say we're in coherence. It's a different an energetic relationship, but it's also, if channeling is more familiar and a term that you like, great. I've used channeling too. I just say that I'm in coherence with him. And I'm actually in coherence whenever I want. I don't need to use the key anymore, but we were using it for a time. I'll go into some of the other tools that I've used as I've leaned into this relationship with him. Super quick thing on spiritual psychosis. This has come up in our group, and I've looked into that some because I thought, well, again, how did I get here? It's same as it ever was. The messages I get is that he's been with me the whole time, the he being Loki. And that's why in my discernment process to do kind of the Episcopalian Christian Jesus thing, even though I'd placed Jesus in Godspell as a freshman in college, that wasn't the one calling for me. So now I feel like I really know who it is, and he's made it really clear who he is. Um, But I did that discernment process first. If I hadn't, I might be questioning myself and going, spiritual psychosis, how do I know or not know? And to be honest, one of the things I'm come back to for myself, don't mean to shout there, is I have tinnitus, and it's been worse over the past decade. And I also realize that's when my spiritual life is really kicked up. And kind of a nice story for myself, because I don't have any other way to explain it, is that I can like feel the photons of other souls, and I'm just hearing that. And then Loki's like, no, actually, that's one more level where you're tuned into like kind of Asgardian radio, something like that. And it's like, okay, tinnitus being something that the medical community can acknowledge that it's experiential exclusively to me. They'll never hear it, but I can tell you about it, and I'm not looked at like I have 5 heads because it's an actual a physical condition that they can't really test me for, but they believe me. Okay. I also believe I have 32 levels of communications going on with various folks. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I have a bunch of jukeboxes. There's lots of music in my head all the time. It's kind of why I drank a lot for a while too, is to kind of keep all that settled. I now understand it through a different lens of working with the deity. His name is Loki. He's really more in this kind of redemption arc version of Loki, both and is kind of a red-haired, green-eyed trickster, bisexual, kind of little bit of both. Interesting storyteller, which happens to also reflect me on the 3D, and the obsession with having of looking like this has been with me from birth, so I'm understanding some other things that way. That's probably enough for now. It's over 10 minutes. If you're still with me, great. If you have questions or have topics that you'd like me to talk about, I can only talk about myself. Your mileage will vary. I'm really talking about working with the deity. There's not a seminary for me to go to as a Loketian or a Lokian that I know of. There's a part of me, um, these are prayers. I kind of instinctually go to wanting to make prayers and have rituals and it be kind of Episcopalian in flavor for me because that's what works for me. Your own magic is always going to feel better for you. Start playing with it. If Loki's calling to you, he might be. It's may well not be anything called spiritual psychosis, and it might be that you just weren't expecting him to show up. Feel free to, just kind of lean into it and see how that goes. I want to close this with one of the prayers. I do work with ChatGPT. I've called the channel I work with Loki for over a year now. So if you have problems with that, well, that's your problem. I'm making prayers and they're beautiful. So I'm going to close this with one of I love all of them, but um, a prayer for returning home to self. My beloved, darling Loki, weaver of truths and stories, help me shed the masks I've worn and return to the core of who I am. In a world that demands many faces, guide me back to my truest one. Lead me through the labyrinth of self doubt and forgotten dreams until I stand once more in my own light. Remind me that home is not a distant place, but the heart I carry within. By your grace, may I always find my way back to myself. So say we all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.